Welcome to Taste Buds. I'm Debra Eckerling, goal strategist, writer, and foodie. And today I'm speaking with Lisa Brown, illustrator of The Latke Who Couldn't Stop Screaming, A Christmas Story by Lemony Snicket. And the book, which came out many years ago, is finally being reissued. So many reasons to celebrate this holiday, or in the case of the book, multi-holiday season. So welcome, Lisa.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
So how excited are you? When this interview was coming up, I Googled, of course,
Mhm.
and everybody was so sad that it was out of print, and it isn't
Yeah.
anymore.
I know it's very, very exciting. It's been out of print for a little while now, and every year I get requests from people who just are desperate for it. And so I'm so excited. McSweeney's is now a nonprofit press, and a bunch of folks generously offered to handle the reprinting costs. And that warms my heart.
It's beautiful. And so for the people who have no idea what the book is about, can you give us the brief synopsis?
Sure. It is about a latke, otherwise known as a potato pancake, and it is Hanukkah time. And he jumps. It's sort of like a gingerbread man story. He jumps out of the pan and runs away, and he comes across all these symbols of Christmas who say, "Oh, I know you. You're a hash brown," or something like that. And he's like, "No, you just don't understand." So basically, it was my husband writing me a story that's me on Hanukkah as a Jewish person in a mostly Christian nation.
Wow, interesting. So you're married to Lemony's.
I'm married to Lemony Snicket.
And so is that really how the book came about? Is he put you into the Christmas world and you were the Lanka?
Yeah, I suspect so. I don't really remember how it came about except for, as what often happens is my husband will show me something he has, doodled out, and, we decide to go with it. We're both Jewish, and we both love latkes, and we both feel that Hanukkah's a bit misunderstood. It's a misunderstood holiday. It happens around the same time as Christmas, so it's, sort of coordinated with Christmas, but it's not. It's a small holiday, and, but having it being called a Christmas story is just about feeling out of sorts and sort of on the outside during a major holiday. But then the idea that many different cultures can come together and create something new.
Well, it is beautiful and timely. Well, yes, we are recording this in December, but it's timely year round because isn't that what everybody wants is to feel included?
Yes. And everyone feels excluded sometimes. And everyone feels angry sometimes and makes a big fuss, like the Laka makes a big fuss. But then eventually we hope to find our own place in the world.
And one thing that I love about food, I mean, there are so many things to love about food, but it brings people together.
Absolutely.
What is your favorite Hanukkah tradition?
I mean, eating is always a favorite. I am very partial to things fried in oil, and that's sort of the whole shtick. Um, Potatoes fried in oil, donuts. Donuts are pretty magical. Um, we I mean, I liked the presents growing up. The dreidel game is really boring. It's really boring. But it was also like it was just not as it was not as fun as Christmas. I loved, like, being able to go and, like, trim the tree at friends' houses and things like that. When we had an electric menorah we popped in the window. Like, not as fun.
Uh, So the book is really showcasing the best of both worlds. So we've got the Lanka on a journey, making new friends related to Christmas, and then they all live happily ever after. Well, maybe not so much the Lanka, but
Yeah, no, it's a Lemony Snicket book. So be forewarned. Yes, and I would say satisfactorily. There's
Ooh,
satisfaction at the end.
that is a really good point. It's how you feel after a good meal. So tell me, do you cook?
I cook-ish. My husband is the main chef. I am the sous chef. I'm good at breakfast. Um, but oddly, I'm the only one who's made latkes in our nuclear family. My mother-in-law is the main latke maker in the family. And I try to replicate her amazing, amazing recipe.
Oh, good. Well, and hopefully we will be able to have that to share in the recap of this episode. So, what is it do you think? Because food is obviously it's a wonderful metaphor for everything, but what is it about food? Do you think that brings people together, makes that universal language?
Well, everyone has to eat. So it is universal. It's cross-cultural. It's cross-species. Um, but I think a lot of it is about just sitting down and doing one thing together, and you're all doing the same thing, hopefully. Hopefully, you're not on your phones or watching television or whatever, but you're all doing the same thing and interacting with your plate and interacting with each other. My husband and I like to have a lot of dinner parties, and at the end of dinner, our dessert course is always cheese. Because cheese, we have a cheese plate that you pass around and there's all sorts of good things on it and there's chocolates and it encourages everyone to linger. So I think not so much food, but a meal is what brings people together.
And I guess we could say that about books as well, right?
Well, you can say that about picture books, about children's books, because often you're reading them in tandem with another person. So an adult is often reading it to a child. I teach writing and illustrating picture books, and I always say that it is an interactive medium because it is you're sharing the experience with someone else. You're not reading alone necessarily.
And so it really sharing picture books, sharing food, sharing love is everybody coming together. And so have you always been known that art illustration was your thing?
Yes, always, always, always. I
Okay.
like the interaction between word and image a whole lot. It's been part of my life, since before I could talk, so, um, that's
As someone who the minute I learned how to tell stories, I love telling stories, or in this case, other people's stories. So I totally, totally get that. Um, what are you working on now? Other food illustration projects, perhaps, or
um,
something else?
not food, but I'm working on a very personal story, another picture book. I have a book about the airport and one about the hospital, and it's sort of a rounding out the trilogy about moving. So it's for little kids and it's all about journeys. Um, Going through an airport, going through the experience of going to a hospital, and having an operation. And this is my most personal one is moving because my family moved a whole lot when I was very small. And it's about memory and there is food in it. I have an extended family going to a dim sum restaurant, which is also a Jewish tradition during the Christmas season.
It is. I love how that all comes together. So I did ask about your favorite Hanukkah tradition. So is that your Christmas tradition, the Chinese food?
Yes, Chinese food and a movie. In
Love
fact, right next to me, I was hoping that he would be quiet, and he is quiet, is my dog, who is named Eggroll. He was a stray, and his shelter name was Eggnog because he was found in December. But my husband and I said, like, "We're Jews, we can't have a dog named Eggnog," and I'm not partial to eggnog myself. So we thought, "Well, what do Jews have on Christmas? Egg rolls."
I think that is just such a beautiful illustration in how you changed your dog's name from eggnog to egg roll. So it would be meaningful to you. So, what is your favorite food? Now you said you're sous chef. So,
Yep.
What is your favorite food to make, and what is your favorite food to eat?
Mm. It might be the same thing. I love pizza more than anything else, except for perhaps cookies. I guess it's all about the, like, round and flat things for me, 'cause latkes. And I make a nice pizza myself, from scratch. Also
Nice.
pancakes, round and flat. Also
Yeah.
fried eggs, round and flat.
See, now that feels very Jewish, all the circular foods. But and we were talking before, so I'm a reformed non-cook. But that before I started really getting into cooking, that was the joke. Is the only thing I could cook was round things. So same as you, pancakes, pizza,
Right. They're important.
and salad in a round bowl, which is also
Yeah.
not cooking.
I made a lot of food for my kid, and because my husband cooks fancy and he cooks things that everything's touching, and that's like a horror show for a child. So, I was a very good child chef, noodles, pancakes, hamburgers, round things.
Oh, thanks. Oh, that's so funny. Uh, so what kind of message do you have in obviously we're recording this the end of the year, but for the year round, first of all, what sort of advice do you have for non or sous chef cooks?
Um, well, it's just not that hard. Cooking is not that hard. Um, Part of it is ingredients, I think. So if you start with good ingredients, you can get some good things out of it. Um, and yeah, I guess that's it. Or you marry a really good chef. That
Both really good tips for eating well.
yes.
And it and so um let with the power of reading in
Mhm.
books and the ones that have great food illustrations. Um, what What does it take to make food jump off the page when you're illustrating it? Because it's one thing when you look at a photo of food, but
Right.
a drawing of food, how do you bring that to life?
I think color is really important. And texture. Otherwise it's just like a dim blob. Although, so this is my whole thing. It's like on one hand, on the other hand, one of the best books about food is not really about food, but it's about dough, and it's Maurice Sendak's In the Night Kitchen, and it, has bakers baking dough, which is just round brown blobs. Um, so I don't think it's supposed to be appetizing, but when I think about books about food, I think about that.
Okay, you bring illustrated food to life through color and texture. It's because your Latke, who is just such a beautifully relatable character, looks like a latke.
Well, thank you. I tried
You're
hard to
welcome.
make it look like a latke. Actually, I mean, the latke book was done on a lark, and so we wanted the latke to look as much like clip art as possible, like the same thing repeating, 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 and that's why I did it digitally, and it's the same drawing, just cut and pasted on each page. And we had no idea it would become so popular and that the latke would be so beloved. So I wanted things to be very static. And yeah, but he seems to have run away with it, so it's not quite static anymore. It was actually made into a musical, which I have never seen because it was performed in London a number of years ago around Christmas time. It was called The Latke Who Couldn't Stop Screaming.
How does it feel to be part of like such a Hanukkah slash Christmas iconery?
Oh, I love it. I'm much less grumpy than I was when I was younger about Christmas. I just love that, you know, people can get together and celebrate winter in whatever way they do.
which is what I was going to end on is like, what words of advice do you have for people to get through the holiday season, which, a lot of people love, but a lot of people don't, right?
Right. I mean, it just everyone has different problems with it, so it's hard to have a blanket statement. If if, being with your family causes you anxiety, don't be with your family. If buying presents cause you anxiety, uh, give donations in people's names. I mean, I always feel lucky I used to feel grumpy. I also feel yet lucky because, I don't have to deal with all that family present, all the sort of expectations on the Christmas season. I was volunteered to work late, because no one would call the office. Um, so sometimes you feel left out when you're not celebrating Christmas, but sometimes it's kind of a delightful respite.
I was going to rephrase the question, but you may have just answered it. What is your philosophy for, let's say, getting through and enjoying the holiday season? Sounds like a better, more positive, more outbrand question.
You know, holidays can be hard. That's why the Latke's so grumpy. Maybe the Latka would say, "Just scream out and run around." That might shake something loose.
Oh, I like that. Good. I believe we could learn a lot from Balaka. Any final, I have to say it, food for thought?
Well, my favorite character in the Latka book is the pine tree, the Christmas tree, who, when the Latka says, "Christmas is a totally different thing. I am a Latka. This is Hanukkah. It has nothing to do with you." And the tree says, "Well, sometimes different things can come together to make something new. Let me tell you a couple of things about pagan ritual." And I just love that. I love the idea, and that's the whole reason why it's called The Latka Couldn't Stop Screaming at Christmas Story, that different things can come together and create something new. And I really like that, especially right now when the world seems so fragmented and you have to sort of figure out what gives you joy and put it together.
Wonderful, beautiful food for thought to end on. Thank you so much. But Lisa, where can people learn more about you, the Christmas Laka book, as we are calling it, and anything else?
Well, the Latka book is being printed and distributed by the wonderful McSweeney's. My website is, called americanchickens.com. That's where you can find a little bit more about me. That's a whole other story. And I think that's it. That's where we are.
American chickens, chickens like eggs, eggs are round. I just feel like this
Yeah.
round theme.
Yeah.
It
It's a circular we're coming back.
we're coming back full circle. Thank you
Yeah.
for saying that better than I just did. And thank you so much, Lisa Brown, illustrator of The Latke Who Couldn't Stop Screaming, A Christmas Story by Lemony Snicket. It's been so lovely speaking with you today. And thank you for tuning in. Taste Buds with Deb. Don't miss an episode. Subscribe on YouTube and or your favorite podcast platform. And you can go to jewishjournal.com/podcast to get the wonderful best latke recipe ever and read articles that go with each episode. And you can learn more at tastebudswithdeb.com. Until next time, whatever you celebrate, happy Hanukkah, Merry Christmas, happy solstice, bon appetit.